SABMiller is the world's second biggest brewer by volume and has a market cap of 518 billion rand. Headquartered in London, it has more than 200 beer brands in over 75 countries across 6 continents. It reported strong results yesterday with solid sales in Latin America and Africa. Beer is very popular in Africa. It trades on a price-to-earnings ratio of 23, and we know Paul Theron drinks a lot of beer, and this is why he's the perfect ambassador to discuss this stock.
That was brilliant. It's true. Beer very popular in Africa. They drink it a lot here. Me, I'm in fact well below the average consumption of hectolitres per year. As I explained to Bronwyn the other night, I can only manage about 2 beers a week. SABMiller, though, I mean, its roots are here, and it's got now enormous global operations. We know about their fabulous business in Latin America, the not so fabulous business in America, and the funny thing they bought in Australia, Foster's, with its margins tight and so on, but very, very strong here, and they've expanded into all of the regions around here. They've got that castle relationship. They've been building breweries from scratch in places like South Sudan. It's a virgin market, and the opportunity is to get people away from home-brewed millet and cassava type products to drink more clear beer and up the brand spectrum, blah-de-blah.
Okay, so Craig, as Paul Theron said when it comes to MTN, he was saying that he envisages a lot of consumers in Africa holding a smartphone in their hand. So do you think that a lot of Africans would be holding a beer in the other? And this is pretty much the consumer story, where we're starting to see a lot more consumption coming through on the African continent, and the revenues here and the profits here are starting to mitigate some of the risks that we see in the developed nations. I mean, do you think that it's again this consumer story that we get excited on?
Yeah, look, absolutely. So I think in terms of where SAB is, there may be more of a struggle getting into some of the Asian markets than there is in Africa. And so we've seen adoption of the Castle brand, 27% growth on that in their last set of results. And they've tapped into other areas, South Sudan, Ghana. They've got projects going on there, and they're seeing fantastic growth in those other peripheral African countries, the smaller that we don't always talk about. And so I think 14% overall was the growth in the African continent, and seeing margins expand as costs contract. And they're now going to see a bit more synergies in Angola, for example. They spoke about putting the SAB operations together with Castle and Angola. We're going to see cost efficiencies come through there. So I think there's opportunities going forward, and people will probably continue to consume irrespective of the fact that taxes may be levied on these products and so on. It's part of people's everyday life and habits on the African continent, and so I think SAB will milk that, for want of a better expression.
The Foster's acquisition, Craig, what kind of position do you think that puts? How does it situate SABMiller as a global player?
So I think what happened now is we've only really seen 2 months of those figures translated through into SAB's results. And what's interesting from an accounting point of view is when you see the shares being watered down, but when it's a cash acquisition or by loans, we don't always see that effect of it on the balance sheet. So I somehow think that we might be surprised in terms of the type of growth that we're going to see. I was a bit concerned about why they wanted to leave the emerging markets going forward, but I think what you got now is a dominant global player in these beverages. Okay,
so Paul Theron drinks a non-alcoholic beer, and we're going to get his view now on whether SABMiller is hot or not. Please, sir, tell us.
No, I'm not hot on SABMiller. It's too expensive, and I think this global branded strategy is not really that exciting. And for me, also remember, I like transformative investments where the product, is only 5% of GDP, but next year it'll be 10%, like healthcare and telecommunications. Beer, as much as people like it, is not a thing that we're going to be doing more and more and more and more of every decade.
Okay, Craig, hot or not for you, SABMiller?
Look, I do own it as a disclosure, so it is hot. I think it's come under a bit of pressure because the market maybe expected a little bit more, but it's always a matter of buy rumor, sell on fact. But I think going forward, it's something that one should always consider having in your portfolio. It's got a slightly defensive nature, and it's been very consistent in its growth. So hot's my call.